Good evening, Meluchim Abayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored by Yigui Nishmat, a dear friend of ours who passed away this week, Dr. Murad, Yosef Meir ben Shulamit Sabicha. תהי נשמתו צבועה וצרור החיים בגן עדן היום, ולאור צדיקים וחסידים, אמן ואמן. Dr. Murad and I were acquainted for about 20 years. Others know him for even longer. Very special man in many, many ways. I'm just going to take 2 minutes to say a few words because unfortunately I wasn't able to make it to this funeral. I lost count already, but a lot of times this week, the same story from different people about him, and the incident just matches itself over and over and over again. The common denominator between all the people were they were immigrants or Israelis that were here on some sort of status and didn't have health insurance. And this is how the story goes. They weren't feeling well. They went into Dr. Murad's office as a private pay patient, right, because they don't have insurance. And he would see them, diagnose, ask them if they have insurance. They would say no. He would say, wait a minute. He would go look for samples of the medications that they needed, give them the medication with enough of a dose through the samples, and then tell them, give me $10. And send them on their merry way. And I heard the same story from I don't know how many people. Tonight alone, 3 different people upstairs when I was learning earlier told me each one in his way the story. One 19 years ago, one very recent, a year ago about. There's a crazy amount of people. And this guy was treating hundreds of Jews over the years for free. What's $10? It's just a way of making somebody feel comfortable. Hundreds and hundreds of Jews, treating them for free and taking care of them. And not saying, oh, they don't have insurance, what is this? If anything, doctors want people who don't have insurance, they could charge him an arm and a leg. The guy's desperate, he's sick, well, he's not going to pay. And never to take advantage of anybody, never to figure out what his financial situation is, and just like that. That's that somebody does Maaseh tzedakah l'chesed non-stop. And it's an amazing thing. And I can tell you what I know from my family personally. That when my uncle, Rav Nissim Zitzas, was sick over here, and so he stayed in Queens when he wasn't in the hospital in Solkeri. And nobody should ever know, but somebody in that situation needs a doctor constantly. There's always situations and things that come up. And Dr. Murad practically lived in the Rosenthal's house for maybe 3 years straight, and never took $1 no matter what. He wasn't willing to accept money, even though we wanted to pay him. And he did everything for him, 24 hours a day for free, including losing his own business. He had patients waiting, he would leave to come, and he'd lose money. He didn't care. It was just, and when the family wanted to pay him at least something, that we probably couldn't afford to pay him what he really deserved, but at least something, he wouldn't accept anything no matter what. He said to take care of a tzaddik is a schus, and he doesn't want to lose the schus over money. So this is a very unique personality in the Jewish nation. And besides, he was Tam Chacham too, he knew a lot of ton of Torah. But so it's very, very unique. It's a great loss for the whole Am Yisrael. But the loss and mourning, unfortunately, we've been in a week that had way too much mourning for Am Yisrael, for the Jewish nation. Whether it's Pittsburgh, or the tragic accident in Israel, or a bunch of overdoses that I'm aware of this week. And it was way too much death this week. Hashem should say enough to this, and we should see life finally. But mourning like that is one type of mourning. That's mourning of Mishtatef B'Tzar and Chaverot, that we have to feel Klal Yisrael's pain. But then there's a higher level of mourning, and that's when we talk about somebody. When we talk about somebody, it's what the Gemara says, that the reward from talking about people that died is what you can get out of it, what you can learn from it. And really, because I know I have a large following of medical personnel that listen to the class tomorrow, so I'm really turning to them, because I don't know how many of you here are licensed medical personnel. And I'm saying, take this man as an example and learn to be compassionate towards patients. A patient is in their roughest time, especially when they're with a terminal illness. They go to sleep at night not knowing if they're going to wake up in the morning. Their life is living hell in every way, shape, and form. And unfortunately, when you're in the medical field, you lose your sensitivity, because it's just, you see 100 of them every day. And so second of all, it's a very hard emotional load to carry if you don't lose your sensitivity. You can actually lose your mind. So there's a fine balance that each one has to find for himself. But a tiny smile to a patient who's terminally ill can go such a long way. It can be such a beacon of hope and can give them so much strength. Honestly, it can save lives a lot more than all the surgeries and treatments that these wonderful doctors give. And I see it. And it's not only the compassion towards patients, it's the compassion towards the family of patients. I witnessed, I think it was last week, a horrific thing that I honestly, I don't know. Sometimes, every time I think society hits its lowest point, I see it goes lower. I was with parents that had a young child who was terminally ill, in a hospital. And a doctor was brought in, and private pay, top dollar. It's not like he was exactly doing this as a mitzvah. And he came in and he checked the kid and whatever. And then he explained to parents what the diagnosis is and what the only hopes are and how to go about it. And started writing down instructions. And the mother asked him a few questions. The mother is entitled to be worried about a child, I would think. And so she asked a few questions. What about this? What about that? You know, she asked him a few different things. At one point, he got angry. Literally, his skin color changed. It turned red. And he told her, "You're the biggest pain in the neck in the world. Can you shut up already?" And I was a witness to it. I was in the room. Honestly, if I wouldn't want to do a sentence, I would have went after him. I almost lost control. And I'm a very calm person. People who know me, I never get upset, ever. I had to walk out of the room because I didn't trust myself being in the room with the guy. Are you crazy? A mother's fighting for a kid's life, paying you a crazy fortune of money as well, on top of it, so you can't even say that you were aggravated that you're not getting paid. And that's the way you talk to her. So I think that the Agad Vespeda Diluye, what God wants us to take out of the passing of this great doctor, Dr. Murad, is to learn from him his compassion that he had towards humans. Jews and non, it made no difference who you were. Every patient that came into his office, he always smiled to. He always gave them courage and hope. He always made the toughest situation seem light so people shouldn't give up. And that's a great, great lesson for the entire medical world that should be taken on every single level of the medical world. And I'm not saying, you know, doctors are victims of a lot of abuse, and if any of you ever worked in an emergency room, forget about it. The level of abuse that the medical staff is prone to over there is tragic, literally tragic. But the Gemara says that you don't catch a person b'shat tzaro. Don't blame a person for the way he behaves at the time that he's suffering. And the doctor or the nurse that's standing on their feet for 12 hours, I pity them. It's a hard job. It's not an easy job. But the guy who's in critical condition, I pity more. And the Gemara clearly says he's b'shat tzaro. So even though his behavior might not be the best, still smile back. Because don't judge him. He's in a tough spot. And a tough spot, people do crazy things. And many of these people don't even know later on what they did and how they spoke. And they were in such a bad state of mind and under so much fear and so much pain and God knows what else that that caused them to really go nuts, to really go beyond that. I think that lesson is something that if we take that away and we show care and love and compassion to people, it'll be a big zchut for the Neshama Dr. Murad, who deserves it so greatly, especially in Queens and our communities here, that he did so much for the communities for so many years straight. And maybe Emilitz Yosha and his children, his wife that he left behind, and the whole community and the whole Am Yisrael, B'ezrat Hashem, Amen. Now to the parasha. I know people texted before, could you talk about Pittsburgh? If I say what I think, I'm not going to get myself in trouble because I'm going to say something that's politically correct. But honestly, it became a dirty subject. I think that my only commentary on the whole thing is it was a terrible tragedy. Anybody who responded to it in any way other than saying it was a terrible tragedy, I pray sincerely, with tears, with tears, that Hashem should send them with soon, because they have a mental illness. There's no other way to explain not being compassionate to humans. When the Mitzrayim that persecuted the Jews for 210 years were drowning, God didn't let the angels sing Shirah. He said, Maseh Adai Tovim Bayam Vatem Sharim Shirah. So those Goyim, those Sonei Yisrael that persecuted Jews for 210 years straight, they killed unlimited amounts of Jews, and even then, when human life dies, all things go aside. Everything else falls to the wayside. That's the simple Jewish hashkafa. And it's very easy to come with stupid agendas and extremism and other things and to confuse it. That's why I want to stay out of that part of it. I don't want to discuss it, not to the good, not to the bad. Anyway, we're all compassionate human people. I'm sure all of us, when we saw the story Saturday night, shed a tear, or at least I would hope so. And when we saw the other tragic story on Tuesday before, I think it was Tuesday, of a family that was innocently driving home, and a driver who was texting while he was driving, as today's police report released. All the youngsters here that use their phones while they drive, went out of the lane and killed an entire family, a mother, a father, and 6 children. All died on the spot. A mother, a father, and 6 children in Israel. That's a wake-up call. And yeah, sometimes you have to start from the basics. The first basic is it's a wake-up call to drive safely. And to be responsible in your actions, and to take responsibility for your actions. Not to think that you're smarter than everybody. There's a reason why there's speed limits, there's a reason why there's stoplights, stop signs, and traffic lights. And yeah, sometimes we got to talk about the basics, because people today lost common sense. They don't care. I see people driving up my block, which barely has room for 1 car, forget about for 2+ parking on both sides, at 80, 90 miles an hour. You have 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds playing in the front yard, God forbid, one spin out, what could happen? And there have been many tragedies. Sometimes has to be the aleph bit. The Steipler once told Chaim Kreisworth, who said it over in a shiur that I heard, that mikar adin al pi halacha, it's not permitted to drive. He said, because a vehicle is a machine that's a mass murderer. It kills people every day. So what's the heter to go behind the steering wheel when you're risking killing people? So Chaim Kreisworth told him back that it's a gzeira she'ein hatzibur yachol la'amod ba. To say that, nobody will be able to live. You have to be able to try. How are you going to get from place to place? So then the Steipler told him that he has only one heter to drive. That if a person does chesed with his car, so then the mitzvah of chesed protects his car, that he should be safe. And then Hashem will watch over. That means the Steipler held halacha that if you don't do chesed with your car, you're not allowed to drive. That's how far he took it. So the basics, the human basic responsibility, that's the first thing Hashem wants before anything. But there's a lot more than that. It's sometimes I wonder when God tests us how much we care. How much we care about situations of people that are suffering, about sad stories. When a family of 8 died, it's a tragedy that everybody was shaken up by. But unfortunately, there's so many others that need so much help, and if they don't get it quickly, they'll be the next on that list. And that's God's way of testing us sometimes, if we're doing enough for everybody else, if we care and love everybody enough in order to bring them to a healthy and emotional state. And when it comes to saying why things happen, this I feel obligated to say clearly. If somebody says that he knows why something happened, he's not because. Straight out. And now let me explain you what the case behind it is. The Rambam clearly writes, that we don't know which sin causes which punishment, or which tragedy happens as a result of what, unless the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch said so. The Rambam doesn't say the Shulchan Aruch, obviously, it was many, many years before, but unless it says clearly in Chazal, b'feirush. Chazal, on very few things, wrote practical implications to this world, just the opposite. Chazal stressed time and time again, that we don't understand what Hashem does. We don't understand. Last week, Shiva, an amazing, amazing person, who moved from Brooklyn to Lakewood, built a beautiful yeshiva, came home, walked into the house, collapsed, and that was the end of him at a young age. What did he do wrong? If we're going to go with this sick agenda of attacking people, let's attack him. What did he do wrong? Talmid Chacham, that knew the whole Torah by heart, that was about chesed, that built up students, that loved him more than a father. We can go on for hours and hours to talk about this one man. Just collapsed in front of his family, gone. By the time Hatzalah came, there was nothing to do. And he was a healthy man. There was no... So what's the answer? We don't know. Vayidom ma'aron. Sometimes you have to know how to stay quiet. And honestly, Saturday night, I promised myself I'm not even going to mention the word Pittsburgh. Because this is a real case of Vayidom ma'aron. Because we don't understand. We don't. And when I saw Tuesday, I said I wouldn't talk about it either. When I saw this back and forth and all the garbage that was spoken this week, Amaratz Doraita, clearly, in such an extreme way. And then I saw that people could get sick enough to call themselves Baalei Ruach HaKodesh. The last person that did that was J.C. Penney. Jesus Christ. I call him J.C. Penney because you're not really supposed to say his name. Yeshu, the Gemara says, he said about himself that he had Ruach HaKodesh. Crazy. Like, where are we stooping to? I said, this much we're willing to say. The Rambam says, and nobody's smarter than the Rambam, that we don't know why things happen. And we have to have a general chizuk. Everybody should wake up as a Jew and say, wait a second, Jews are under attack. There was a big mess in Brooklyn this week, and I hope you heard about it, so we shouldn't talk only bad things. Hashem saved an entire shul. It could have been the next massacre. A guy came with 2 machetes. Not 1, 2. On Avenue US, and I think Ocean Avenue, the corner. Yeah, they got him there, whatever, the cops got him. So now they say he's insane, they'll probably release him in a few days too. Unfortunately, that's the way it works in our system. He's insane, so he's dangerous, so keep him somewhere, I don't know what. But give him a few months, a few weeks. I wish months, unfortunately I'm scared it's going to be weeks, he's going to be back out, back on the street again. And next time, he was already now diagnosed as insane, so now he can do whatever he wants forever. That's it. He has a paper that gives him a head to do whatever he wants. That's the way the system works. I wish I was exaggerating. Unfortunately, I'm not. Hashem made a mess. It was a mess. Hashem saved the whole community. And so we see good and we see bad. And we don't know what the good comes from. We don't know what the bad comes from. What do we know? We know that when Am Yisrael is suffering on any level, anywhere, even if it's a young kid who fell and scraped his knee, that's also suffering, then Hashem wants the Jews to be more united and to come together and to get stronger and to do the right thing. Which right thing? I don't know. And nobody else knows either. Why? Because I'm not Hashem and nobody else is. God kept it in hiding. So now you may ask a very tough question. If it doesn't say clearly what Hashem wants, so then how am I supposed to know what I should do? That's a good question. It's like, if I tell you I want something from you, and you say, okay, what? I'll gladly do it. I don't want to tell you. How can you want something and not tell me? That's what it is, right? Second of all, if you don't hold some, if there's no law about something, could they prosecute you on what there's no law about? No. If there's a law, whether you knew it or not, doesn't make a difference. They can prosecute you if you violate it. But if there is no law, a cop can't come to you and say, you were driving the speed limit, I'm giving you a ticket. You don't break any laws. There's no law that says you can't be driving. You have a license, you have a valid everything, go on. So, by Hashem, a law is what he tells you. If he doesn't tell you, so then he can't prosecute you. So what's going on here? Where does this question really arise in a very big way in Jewish history? Listen to an amazing pshat that a friend of mine told me on the phone today when we were talking about something else completely. And at the end he told me, I know you like a good chiddush, let me tell you a good chiddush. He was sure I knew it. Guess what, I didn't. It was great to hear it. From Rav Yaakov Yagen. I learned a lot of this phone they put out from him. I heard live countless shiurim from Rav Yaakov Yagen. He was in our office many times. But I never, this one I must have missed, and this is probably one of his grand slams, so it's interesting. So even though it's not time appropriate, maybe, but it answers this question. Rav Yaakov Yagen said he was learning a Gemara that talks about the destruction of the temple. The Gemara says, they wanted to know why was there such great tragedy and destruction. They asked the wise men, they didn't have an answer. The prophets, even people that had prophecy, didn't answer. Until God himself answered. What? Didn't keep the Torah. The Gemara ends up concluding, they didn't say B'kal Torah. So, right away, over there in the Rishonim, they ask, what? So they didn't say B'kal Torah, that's why we wipe out a nation. Second of all, there's a different chazal that says there was Avodah Zarah Gilui Arei Shfichut Damim. It seems to be a contradiction. What's going on? That's a separate subject. I say that's a subject that we normally talk about during the 3 weeks. God willing, this year the 3 weeks is going to be a big celebration because Mashiach will come before then, so it won't be applicable to talk about it. Rav Yaakov Yagen said he was bothered by a different question, that he looked at all the Sfarim and he didn't find anybody asking it, so that bothered him even more because he thought maybe there's something wrong with him. Sometimes if the question's so obvious and nobody asks it, so you start challenging yourself, well, maybe something's wrong with me. He said, if the Chachamim didn't know what they did wrong, the Nevi'im didn't know what they did wrong, that means that obviously they didn't do much wrong. And if they didn't know, how could God hold them accountable for what they didn't know? There's no Bitah B'dei Shamayim until the age of 20. Right? We learned that in this week's Parashat, the Midrash of Kuf Kibat Chaf, L'Onishim, that until 20, there's no certain things a person gets away with in simple English. Why? Because you can't hold a teenager accountable. Teenagers do stupid things. That's part of it. And they don't have the knowledge and the common sense to make the right choices, and God takes that into consideration. That's part of the system. When a baby's born, if he doesn't cry, the medical team goes into panic. You know that. If he does cry, thank God he's a healthy baby. If a teenager behaves perfect, his parents should worry. Something's wrong. If he gives him a little bit of a hard time, he's normal. That's normal. Marasis, right? From Chazal, Tzar Gidul Banim, Be'etzef Tildi Banim, Chazal took it, Tzar Gidul Banim, but even later on, raising the kids is sad. It's normal, it's part of the system. I'm not talking about the extremes, but a little bit. It's always normal. No? So if that's the case, so we understand, you're not going to hold somebody accountable for what he doesn't know. There's a Chazon Ish in there that talks about, and there's a Psak Halakha, and Chazon Ish is not chashud on being a lenient rabbi. Right? He was on the right wing of the spectrum to an extreme. And he clearly writes, that if somebody was raised in an environment that wasn't a Torah environment, he's a tinok shenishba. Ad hayom hazeh. He writes, it's even, because people why even go into the subject. People want to say that today everybody sees Judaism everywhere, so there's no more tinokot shenishbu. He said, no, this person didn't know that there was something important about it. You can't expect him to go learn what he doesn't know is even something to consider. And in a different place, the Chazon Ish takes it to a bigger extreme. He said, even if you went to yeshiva, maybe he wasn't taught the right way. He wasn't taught with love. So to him, he has animosity towards Judaism. He's also a tinok shenishba. And the Chazon Ish calls it a tinok shenishba bein kotlei yeshiva. Even though he was in the walls of the yeshiva, he's still a tinok shenishba. So you see the Chazon Ish wrote the halakha that you can't hold a person accountable for what he didn't know, or for what he did know, but was given to him in the wrong way. So how did Hashem hold Klal Yisrael accountable to the point that he destroyed a temple over it, for what clearly it says in Chazal they didn't know? The Nevi'im didn't know, the Chachamim didn't know, they needed God himself to give an answer for. This question is so obvious. Rav Galinsky said that when he didn't find it in the Sfarim, it bothered him, because it's such an obvious question. He thought maybe something's wrong with him. He got scared. What's going on? How could it be that? I don't know. So he went into Rav Shach, to ask him this question. This is Rav Shach, my friend just told us to me on the phone, so I'm and he told Rav Shach the thing, and he said it shyly because he was scared to even ask it, because he said maybe it's a stupid question, like it's too simple a question. And he said Rav Shach was sitting, he was standing when he asked it to him. Rav Shach loves Rav Galinsky a lot. I witnessed it. And Rav Shach jumped out of his seat, grabbed him by his shirt. That was Rav Shach's way of expressing love. It was interesting. He loved you a lot. He would grab you and shake you up. And he told him, Yaakov, I don't understand. So he said, what? He said, your question is the answer. So he said, now he was totally confused. My question's the answer. He said, either my question's wrong, or... Then Rav Shach said, you know what Hashem told him? Hashem said, Shabu la Chachamim, you went to the Chachamim, they don't know what you have to fix. Does the Chacham live in your dining room? No. Does he know what your Yetzirah is? No, he has his own. They went to the prophets. God hides from the prophets what's going on, unless he wanted to give them a specific prophecy like Yirmiyah and others, that he told them to say certain things to Am Yisrael. He hid it from them. So they said, we don't know. I can't tell you what to do. I can't. He said, so who knows what to do? Leiv yodea marat nafsho. A person on himself knows the best. He says the only one that knows what you have to get better at in life is you when you look in the mirror. And I don't mean the physical mirror, I mean the spiritual mirror. You say, where am I standing? What do I got to do? So when it's a time of tsar and suffering in Am Yisrael, of course HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to get chizuk, that we should come out stronger, and we should be mitchazek in Torah and mitzvot. But what's the chizuk that he wants? I don't know. You know who knows? I know on myself, you know on yourself, and everybody knows on their own person. That's what we learned from this Gemara. Unless we would merit that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself will come and tell us. No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself will come and tell us soon. B'shuv Hashem and Shivat Zion. God willing, very soon. Yibaneh Beit HaMikdash. And you don't have to be a big chacham to know that it has to happen now. All the nivuot of Chazal at Ikvus and Mashiach happened already with all the chumot. There's no, unfortunately, we literally understand why the Gemara brings down that some said Yetei V'lach and they don't want to live in the times of Mashiach, because the Jews went through it all by now already. And America we used to call the golden country for Jews, right? Because we all make money here and wealth here. Suddenly it's not so golden anymore. People are starting to, shuls are putting up bulletproof windows and this and that. The city's going to start paying for this stuff. I was reading like crazy stuff that's going on. So suddenly we're not so comfortable. We're already a little bit at, not ease. Now we understand a little bit what they feel in Israel every day when a kid goes onto a bus and doesn't know if he's going to come off. Unfortunately, that's literal. Now we're starting to understand a little bit. So we went through everything that the Gemara says. So Kosh Baruch has to come and reveal himself. Ani Hashem, Mashiach comes and promise himself. And in a generation that everybody's anusim, it's the perfect time to do it because everybody's pure, no matter what to do. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. But on a practical implication, what should you do? Who am I to tell you what to do? I'll take care of myself, you take care of yourself, and I don't know. And anybody who says he knows is arrogant. Nobody knows. A person knows himself what he has to do. Sod Hashem Lireyav. Hashem keeps it between him and the person. It's a personal thing, it's an individual thing. And that's what I think the takeaway really has to be over here. And if each Jew would do what he feels that he has to get better at, even one tiny thing, that for sure would be a great chesed for all Am Yisrael, because Am Yisrael as a nation will look better. And there'll be more schuyot, and we need every schut that we can get. That's for sure. Another thing I was asked, tonight I'm addressing things that I was asked in text. I don't know, people complain that I don't. Is what's my opinion on the upcoming elections? Honestly, I don't care. That's my opinion. But I will say one thing. I don't know anything about politics. Leave me alone. Not interesting. There's one thing that I will say. I don't even know where there are people up for running and who's running for what. I have no clue. I'm the worst guy to talk to about this subject. But what I could tell you is that if there are elections in your area and your area is highly Jewish populated, then it is worth the few minutes or whatever it takes time to go vote. And to vote Republican straight down the line, not caring who it is. Because, unfortunately, it's a big chilul Hashem that in highly Jewish populated areas, when we see the election results, especially in New York, we see tons of Orthodox neighborhoods that voted Democrat. It's a tragic chilul Hashem. Because that means that people chose their own interest of their benefits or whatever they're getting legally or not, over a party that openly says that they'll do everything to disgrace God. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are such tzaddikim, don't get me wrong, they got their own issues. But at least they fake it a little bit. At least they claim to be more ethical. At least they claim that marriage should still have some normalcy. At least that much. So it's just a chilul Hashem that the results come out otherwise. Second of all, what about our care for Israel? We know the record of the Democratic Party with Israel. Unfortunately, it's tragic. The last 2 years, America has showed when it came to Israel policy, they've been a malchut shel chesed. They backed Israel in every single situation. They stuck up for Israel in the United Nations over and over again. They cut funding for the United Nations finally by drastic numbers. They gave Israel a blank check to do whatever they want. And on top of that, the embassy to Jerusalem was a nice gesture too. I don't know how important it was, but it was a nice gesture. Us as Jews, we don't care about Israel, and we're going to go vote with a party that their record on Israel is tragic. We're going to go vote for a party that just had a president 2 years ago that allowed the Americans not to veto a vote against Jews. You know what a chilul Hashem that is? So, even though I know nothing about politics, and I couldn't care less, the whole thing's whatever, I don't know. You know, some people know this stuff, this is their life, fine, good for them. But I was told at a young age from my mother that politics is a very dirty field and stay away. So I listened to my mom, at least in that. But that much I did know, I heard from my Rebbe, and I can just give it over further. My Rebbe definitely doesn't care about American politics, he lives in Israel. But he told me this point. He said that for the sake of Kiddush Hashem, we have to go vote Republican. That's it, just for that. That's the reason to do it. Beyond that, whatever. In New York, it's not like it makes a difference, right? We know who has the majority here, unfortunately. But it's just for that sake, that they should know that in populated areas, the Jews still have values. And our value is not money. Our value is other things that have to do with morals, ethics, things like that, that are much more important to us. Biblical ethics, not modern time ethics. So that's my little commentary on that subject. There were a few more, but I'll keep them for next week, because something about the Parashat, you have to have something, right? It can't only be current events. Otherwise, this is really a joke. I don't come all the way to Queens to talk politics and nonsense and fight people's stupidities. It's not worth the trip for that. It's the home for it. Let's learn a little Torah. Chayei Sara, 100 שנה, 20 שנה, 7 שנים, שני חיי Sara. The life of Sarah was 100 years, 20 years, 7 years, aka 127 years. Shnei Chayei Sara, the years of the life of Sarah. So there are a lot of questions that scream in this pasuk. Some that Rashi already brings down from the Midrash, and others that the Malbim and many others. I'm today going with the opinion of the Malbim. Talk about it. Listen to this. Rashi right away is bothered by it, and for that he brings the Midrash. That why did the Torah just say she was 127 years old when she died? 100 years, 20 years, 7 years, what was it, math class? So Rashi brings him Chazal, Bat Kuf ki Bat Chaf, when she was 100 years old, she was as pure as a 20-year-old, the Chet, that has no sin, as we explained, there's no Mitav Yishamayim, whatever, until the age of 20. Bat Chaf, when she was 7 years old, ki Bat Zayin Liyofi. She was as beautiful, when she was 20 years old, ki Bat Zayin, she was like 7 years old, Liyofi and beauty. Excuse my language, but I have no, this is the way we're going to express it to make the point clear. If somebody says that a 7-year-old is more attractive than a 20-year-old, they're a pedophile, they go to prison. So what does Chazal say? When she was 20, her beauty was like a 7-year-old. Right? If anything, she said when she was 100, she had sins like a 7-year-old, that we would understand, and she looked like a 20-year-old. That's the way we don't, it makes more sense, no? And if Chazal said it otherwise, there's a reason. Why? Number two, Chazal spent time on discussing beauty of women. Who cares, first of all? Why is it important? There were Nashim that were called in Chazal's language Yifei Fiyot Sheba'olam, the most beautiful women in the world. One of them was Sarai Meinu. There's not one extra word in Chazal. What's important for us to know that she was beautiful? Who cares? Sarai Meinu, that's what we have to say about it. She was beautiful. And since when does the Torah make a big deal out of beauty? Look through the Gemara in general, it's not the case. Murad does say when it comes to marriage, the Gemara makes a big deal out of it. It's important. When it comes to other things, but in general, don't talk about it. Adarabah, there's more mention in the Zohar than anywhere else about beauty. Zohar talks about Adam HaShalem and talks about looks. But it's not, and even that you have to understand what that means. So there's an answer that many Mefarshim say. Originally, I heard this answer actually from my father, but then years later I saw it in many studies. So I don't know which one came first, I don't know whose name to say. I'm saying where I heard it from, but I saw it in many studies afterwards. When a 7-year-old wakes up in the morning, her mother wakes her up for school, how long does it take her from the time she gets out of bed? I'm not talking about a lazy 7-year-old. To the time she's ready, dressed, to go. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes. When a 20-year-old gets up in the morning and has to go to college or to work, how long does it take her from the time she gets out of bed until she's ready to leave the house? Most days, work is over already. What's the difference? If by a 7-year-old, it's not important to her. She doesn't care so much. Yeah, my friend doesn't like my outfit, doesn't like my outfit. Next. She doesn't live for others, she lives for herself. So what's important to her? She have more time to play, and more dolls, and more this, and more that. That's important to her. More games, more, I don't know what, whatever she's into. So she's not going to go spend an hour in front of the mirror. It doesn't interest her. It's simple like that. It just doesn't care. For a 20-year-old, thank God, it's important to have safe. The person has to look presentable. So they spend time to look presentable. No. Come Chazal and say an unbelievable thing. Sarah Imeinu was naturally one of the most beautiful women ever in the world. But Chaf, when she was at her prime years of beauty, and technically then is when it should have been the most occupying thing on her mind, Kibat Zayin Liyofi. She treated it like a 7-year-old. She said, my life doesn't have to be in front of a mirror, I can do better than that. I have better things to do with my time. And that was the Shvach of Sarah Imeinu. That's why Chazal first stressed how beautiful she was. And then said we pick her prime age to show off her beauty, and Dafka then we said Kibat Zayin Liyofi, she didn't make any big deal of it. Unbelievable Chazal. No, so that's already a lesson for generations. Now we understand what it says. Comes the Malbim and says, but he wants to know something else. The Malbim writes, he wants to understand why. I'm not looking at my phone, I don't have a watch, so that's how I know when to end, otherwise you'll be here all night. The Malbim writes that he wants to know something else. Chayei Chayei Sara, the life of Sarah was, the 127-year breakdown. And then the pasuk continues. Shnei Chayei Sara, the years that Sarah lived. We already said, Chayei Sara. The Torah doesn't say the same thing twice. Definitely not in the same pasuk. Why did the Torah first start Chayei Sara? The life of Sarah was Shnei Chayei Sara, the years of the life of Sarah. So Rashi says that we ended Shnei Chayei Sara to learn a lesson. Kulam Shavim LeTorah, that she was flawless. Her behavior, everything was perfect her whole life. That's what Rashi says, right? The Malbim seems to be bothered even after Rashi's answer, that he feels that it's not enough of an explanation, because we could have said that already about Vayu Chayei Sara, Kulam Shavim LeTorah. We didn't need the separate Shnei Chayei Sara. So to understand this, the Malbim says that the Mishnah Pirkei Avot teaches us, Perek Bet Mishnah, Al ta'amin ba'atzmecha ad yom motcha. That means a person could be a tzaddik his whole life, and towards the end of his life, something, whatever happens, goes wrong, and he loses. Chazal say, there was a Kohen Gadol who went 80 years lifnai lifnim into the Kodesh Kodashim, and he came out alive every year. That means God gave him the stamp of approval. And then afterwards, he was Yetzal Talmud Torah. So the Mishnah warns a person, Al Tamim Baz, don't think, okay, I'm 30 years old and I'm already religious for so many years, the Yetzirah has no chance against me. I'm good. Al Tamim Ba'atzmecha ad yom motcha. Until the day you die and go into Gan Eden, things can go wrong. The Yetzirah doesn't give up, he's always fighting. He doesn't give up. So the Malbim says that that's what Rashi means to say. Why was Sarah Imeinu able to keep all her years perfect? Because she was always on guard. All the years, she was always constantly on guard. I have to be my best. That's the beginning part of the Malbim. Then the Malbim continues. Comes the Malbim and writes that there's two types of life. And within the two, one of the two types of life, he splits into another two categories. This is interesting, actually. Because when a person is born, God says how many years he's going to live for. This guy's going to live 100 years. Then, there's a second part to you. You're built of two entities, the physical entity and the spiritual entity. The spiritual entity, God warns you, Hayet Tzadik V'lo Rasha. Make sure that you do the right thing, you're a righteous person. But that already, you decide, you have free will. You come into your life. You don't decide the day you'll die, but you decide how you'll live the days that you live. Comes the Malbim and writes that's the two times that it says life in the pasuk. Vayu Chayei Sara. Sarah's spiritual life is what we talk about first. 127 was flawless. Shnei Chayei Sara, she lived the exact amount of years that God gave her. Not more, not less. What do you mean? Obviously. The Malvim asks himself, that's a no-brainer. Of course, God said she could live 127 years. She lived 127 years. Comes the Malvim and says an unbelievable chidush. But in order to understand this chidush, we got to go on a journey a little bit around Shas. There's a Gemara Masechet Chagigat Daf Daled Amud Bet. The Gemara says the story. Rabbi Yosef Kimati Lahai Kra Bachi. When Rabbi Yosef used to get to this pasuk, he would cry. V'yesh nispeh v'lo mishpat. There's a person that can die even though he doesn't deserve to die, without justice. So the Gemara right away asks, could it be that a person's going to die before it's time for him to die? What do you mean? Hashem said he's going to live a certain amount of time. If he died young, that means that Hashem only said that he'll live until that time. How could it be? What's going on? Comes the Gemara and says, Kiha de Rav Bibi bar Abaye. Yes, it could be. How could it be? Like this story of Bibi bar Abaye. What's the story of Bibi bar Abaye? What is the story? Havishchiach gabei malach hamavet. The angel of death was good friends with him. We spoke about that a few weeks ago, what that means. No? And he was always there. He used to visit him a lot. Amar le l'shluchei. One day the angel of death is sitting by this rabbi, having a meeting. In the middle of the meeting, he makes a phone call, we'll call it, just to bring it down to our terms. He calls his messenger, and he tells him, Zil aitirei Miriam megadlei se'al nishaya. Go bring me the soul, meaning kill, Miriam, the one that's the hairdresser. The Gemara says, Azal aitele Miriam megadla daldeki. The executionist, the Malach HaMavet's assistant that went on this job while he was busy in his meeting with the rabbi, brought the wrong Miriam. Instead of bringing Miriam the hairdresser, he brought the soul of Miriam, the one that used to be a kindergarten teacher. She used to raise little children. Amar, so the Malach HaMavet told his messenger when he brought him the Mishana, Miriam megadal sal nasha amelach. I told you to bring the other Miriam. You brought the wrong one. What did you do? You brought me the wrong person. No. Comes Chazal and says, the Gemara says, Amalo Rabibi bar Abaye. Rabbi Abaye, that was the rabbi that was sitting in the meeting with the Malach HaMavet, asked the Malach HaMavet, he said, I don't understand. How could it be that you have permission to take the wrong person? How does God allow this to happen? There's no mistakes. So if you had to bring this one, and you brought a different one, how could that be? What's going on with it? So Amarli, so the Malach HaMavet answered him, V'lo k'tiv, doesn't it say a clear pasuk, v'yesh nispeh v'lo mishpat, that somebody could die without justice? So you see, yeah, sometimes I can make mistakes. I can take a person before he's supposed to die. The Gemara continues, by the way, and explains this more, but for what we're trying to say, we're going to eliminate, we're going to skip a little bit. Strictly because of time restraints, really we should have the entire Gemara. The Gemara later on says over there that the rabbi asked the angel of death an interesting question. He said, let's say, for example, I'm making up numbers, she was supposed to live 100 years. And now by mistake, you took her when she was 40 years old. So really the 60 years of life that was given to the world, that now is not in the world. Where did those years go to? Do they go to waste? What happens to those years? What happens to them? Interesting question, huh? When a person dies, so his inheritance, either his family gets, if not, the government, the state, whatever the law is. If somebody died young, and he left over years, there were more years that he was supposed to live. So who inherits those years? Where do they go to? Comes the Gemara and says over there an unbelievable thing. That the Malach HaMavet answered him, if in this world there's a Talmid Chacham, it's not just a Talmid Chacham, he's also a Ma'avir al Midotav, He has flawless character traits, and even when he should be insulted, he's not, and even when he should be upset, he's not, and so on. So we give him the years of the people that their years were taken away from them by accident. And then he gets to live longer than the amount of years that God gave him. Interesting thing. See this? If you're Torah knowledgeable and you have flawless character traits, then you can have an extra long life. God will add on years to your life. More than he originally said you'll even live. That's a whole new concept of Arichut Yamim. It's an extra Arichut Yamim. If that's the case, comes the Malbim and he says very simple. Sarai Meinu, Be'etzim, really got 127 years from God. Now the question is, why didn't she get more years? Why didn't Hashem give her extra years? Comes the Pasuk and says, Chayei Sara. Sarah lived 127 years. Why? Because that's what God gave her. But wait a second. 127, we said that she was a tzaddikus. If she was such a perfect tzaddikus, so we should have added on more years. Comes the Torah and says, no. Shnei Chayei Sara. We didn't add on more years. She lived exactly what she was given. That's what the Pasuk says. Why does the Pasuk say that? Comes the Malach. The Malach would have not said this, you know, that says it's a chidush. Comes the Malach and says that Hagar, right, the Torah teaches us, Breshit Zayin Hey, was, excuse me, didn't respect, or at least that's the way she felt, that she didn't respect Sarah. And Sarah got upset at Avraham Avinu, and she blamed him for it. And she said, Chamasi alecha, those are the words that the Pasuk says over there. I'm angry at you. Why? Because you didn't stick up for me. You didn't stick up for me. Lefi madregata, according to her level in Shamayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu considered that wasn't ma'avir al midotav. Even though Hagar was the maid, and even though she was the tzaddiket, and even though Hagar was not so righteous at one point, and Sarah was righteous. And so technically, what do you mean? Thank you so much. Technically, what do you mean? What's the question here? Afal Pikin. Ma'avir amidotav means when you're right. Anyway, forgive and forget. Anyway, let it slide. If she had to go to Abraham and say, Chamasi alecha, I'm upset at you, why didn't you stick up for my honor? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to her level, comes to Malbim and teaches us, said, now I can't give you extra years anymore. How lucky is a person who's willing to let things slide? It's the best life insurance policy. Not life insurance the way we know it. Death benefits. Life benefits. You'll physically live a longer life. Unbelievable thing. But we do have to understand, by the way, the Gemara, just so we shouldn't look at it here, confused. What does it mean? Yes, what does that pasuk mean? A person can die by below mishpat. It's not justice. It's not justice. Then how does a person die? Hashem doesn't do anything without justice. There's no mistakes by God. And this seems to be a mistake. How do you explain this? So the answer is very simple, I think. And it's also brought down in a sefer called Divrei Chen, which was written by an uncle of mine through marriage, Rav Chaim Ben Sinyor from Bnei Brak, big tzaddik, Hashem said him for a long life. Already very old, but a longer life. Klal Yisrael needs tzaddikim. So he brings down the sefer, an unbelievable shot. He says HaKadosh Baruch Hu has two ways that he deals with people: tzedek and mishpat. Tzedek is that he throws the book at you. Whatever you really deserve, you get a full sentence in simple English. The sentencing guidelines for criminal law. A person can get for a crime, and every crime is different, obviously, from 30 days to 5 years, from this to that. And then the judge decides, based on whatever it is, what amount. In Shamayim, it works like that as well. Either God can give you the max sentence instantly, you did something wrong, now he goes after you. Or you could say, you know what, let's let this one slide, and hopefully I'll do tshuva a little longer, we'll wait, maybe one day. And Hashem says about himself, that he swears on his own name, that I don't want anybody to die, I want to do tshuva and to have a long life. And to live in Olam Haba as well. But there are times that Kosh Baruch Hu is not ma'arich afim to the Reshaim anymore. He doesn't, he throws the book at a person. We should never know what that means. And then there's mishpat, there's regular judgment. Regular judgment, we're more flexible. We take into consideration many factors, this, that, and that's the general judgment that Kosh Baruch Hu has with Am Yisrael. Comes the pasuk and teaches us, yesh mispeh, sometimes somebody dies, but lo mishpat. Hashem didn't give him that extra bonus of having the privilege of being patient with him and saying, let's wait, because maybe one day he'll get better. But of course, it's not injustice. He deserved what he got. And there's no mistake. The mistake was the Malach HaMavet thought that Miriam, we could leave her for longer. Hashem decided, no, we're not leaving her for longer. Because that's it. We crossed the red line, and she's getting tzedek, not mishpat. That's the way we explain this Gemara. If that's the case, how does a person guarantee that Kosh Baruch Hu should always deal with him in a more lenient way? Chazal teaches the secret to that. The way we judge others is the way God judges us. If we let people slide, God lets us slide. If we don't let people slide, God doesn't let us slide. And maybe that's in addition to the reasoning that we gave prior, that the Talmid Chacham that's Ma'abir Midotav gets the extra years. Because dafka, those extra years that were taken away from somebody that we had to do a harsh judgment with, we give it to a Torah sage that makes an easy judgment, that doesn't talk negative about Jews, that always looks to find the positive even in the greatest sinner, that doesn't look for his own honor and fame and call himself things, but just the opposite, looks to be simple and friendly with everybody and get along with everybody. When you behave like that, God says, Midah keneged midah, we're going to give you in return a longer life than a person really deserves, even than a person actually deserves. And I want to end off just with a thought. And I feel obligated to share this thought because it was just an awkward incident today. I got to Queens much earlier than the usual with a plan to go somewhere. I didn't coordinate it properly, so that plan fell apart, which was a great thing because it gave me time to come to the shul to learn. So I came in to learn. Had a bunch of hours. And at one point I was thirsty. So I went to Victor, the guy who works for us here, wonderful person. I call him from Chasidei Umot HaOlam. And I asked him, can you do me a favor and get me something to drink? And sure, yeah, he dropped whatever he was doing, went running to bring me a drink. I told him thank you, and I asked him about his wife, his kid, whatever. Friendly talk for 2 minutes, and he was happy, he left. A couple of minutes later, he came back, and he looked very upset. I happen to know he's a sensitive guy, so I thought maybe, I don't know, but then I said, the shul's empty, and it can't be somebody told, you know. What happened? I turned to him, I said, Victor, what happened? He said, come look. Okay. Shows me outside the window, a Jewish couple and another Jewish guy standing opposite each other, screaming at each other, fighting. He tells me, you know what they're fighting about? I said, no. What are they fighting about? Why would I care? I'm not going to take apart that fight. I don't want to be in the middle of that. It looks pretty heated. I'm not a strong guy. I don't know how to push people to, it's not my thing. Well, why are you so upset with it? So he tells me like this. Because they're stupid, that's why I'm upset. I'm looking at this guy with a very high education, a janitor, and they're stupid. I'm like, why are they stupid? He says, let me tell you what they're fighting about. He says, this is not the first time I see this. I saw this a few times already. There's this one neighbor that lives down the block, and he has a driveway, and he parks his car in the driveway. There's another neighbor that lives next door. He doesn't have a driveway, he parks his car in the street. Sometimes the guy that parks his car in the street His car sticks out, a tiny drop. Not that it bothers the driveway, but in this neighbor's psychology, it's a little harder for him to pull out. And on the day that that happens, all hell breaks loose. That's what they're fighting about. So I told him, all right, that's foolish, you're right, but you went to an extreme, you look very upset about it. Why are you so angry? It's not you. You didn't do anything wrong. This has nothing to do with you. Why are you so passionate about it? And why are you calling them stupid? He says, let me tell you why I'm calling them stupid. He said, a few days ago, my best friend died of cancer. He said, I was in the room when he died. I guess he was an illegal immigrant here or something in a family. He was the only one there. He said, at one point, they asked me to go out of the room for 2 minutes and come back. It was after he died. I left the room. When I came back, I realized why they told me to leave the room. Because before they took the body out of the room after he died, they took off his clothing. And out of respect for human dignity, even though the person's not alive anymore, it's not nice that somebody should be in the room. And then they handed me his phone, his wallet, his watch, and his clothes. And they said, being that he has no inheritors and you're his friend, then you take this. So whatever he had, they gave me. And he was a young guy. His own clothing he couldn't even take with him. His wallet, his watch, his most personal items, nothing. And they're busy fighting over parking lots. Over 1 inch on the road. Did you block my driveway by 1/4 of an inch? He said, why don't they have respect for life? They woke up this morning. My friend didn't. Why they get caught up in such silly, stupid things? That's why I'm upset. When he told me that, I said, Hashem sent me a Musa speech, a wake-up call. How many trivial things did we get caught up with today that weren't even worth the time of the day? It was a stupid waste of it. How many things aggravated us today that were nonsense? We woke up this morning. Say thank you. But then an unbelievable thing happened. Suddenly it dawned on me that there's a pshat and farshim that say that the whole thing behind this beginning of this parasha is exactly this idea. If Hashem made this guy tell me today that I should come here to see him while his hours of work, against what I planned, and then these Jews should fight, and he should see it, and he should get angry and tell this to me, or whatever. Obviously, he meant that we should say this pshat in the parasha. I didn't mean that I know what God, he didn't talk to me. Not that I understood it, at least, unfortunately. But things don't happen coincidentally. The Malbim has another situation in the same story of Sarah dying. It says the Torah uses full psukim to describe this whole negotiation of buying Sarah a burial plot. And now Avraham Avinu pays top dollar for it. Even though he didn't have to. He was offered it for free. No, it's obvious you need where to bury her. Why didn't the Torah just quickly say where he buried her and case closed? Who cares what the negotiations were and how much he paid? It doesn't make a difference. And you can't say that the Torah was teaching us a value to overpay for burial spots. That's corruption of Halal Menuchot today. That's not the Torah way. Just the opposite. We have to make things as easy and reduce the financial burden on those who are deceased, that they should be able to be buried in places that are appropriate for them in the most respectable way. When my brother passed away, that was the first time I had to actually deal with buying a burial plot. I was shocked by what I heard. So originally we thought he would want to be buried in Halal Menuchot because my uncle's buried there. And so they started talking to prices that begin at like $70,000, $80,000 and above. That's where it starts, and even that's very low for a normal area. I'm not talking about I call them the file cabinet burials there. Today they already bury one on top of the other, like file cabinets. That's not normal, it's against our laws. But, a respectable place. But we said the only reason why we would do it is if he's buried near my uncle. So we're trying to find in the same area as my uncle if we can get a plot. Suddenly I get a call from a guy. Right? I'm in Onin. My brother just passed away. We're trying to figure out the logistics of burying him the next day. The guy calls me. I want to believe he's not Jewish. Unfortunately, the story kind of forces me to know that he is Jewish. And he tells me like this: I got a spot for you. It's a few over from your uncle, exactly what you're looking for. Or $165,000. I said, how do you have a spot? And why are you willing to sell it? And why do you want so much money? Explain me what, and let me understand, and I'll tell you if I want to do it or not. So he tells me I bought 2 plots. One for me and one for my wife. A year ago, my wife died. I buried her in one. Honestly, I never really liked the woman. I have no interest in being buried near her. And it's a good location for you. And I can make a few bucks, which will help me out of my retirement now. Give me $165K, take the spot, me and my wife. Forget about the fact that al pi halakha you don't bury a man, you're a woman, it's not his life, or whatever. Forget about all the mistakes in what he said. A sick person to be. Sick. And to say it! If you want to think it, that's sick enough, but to say it! Crazy. So what's the Torah saying? The Torah goes and writes psukim, negotiation, with a barrier, sell it to me, I give it to you for free. No, I want to pay. Top dollar he paid, 400 shekel kesel, villa, socher, Rashi explains, very expensive money. Overpaid like crazy. Who cares? For what? So the Torah only says things that we can learn from. What's there to learn from this? Comes the Malbim and writes that Avraham Avinu could have gotten the spot for free, as the pasuk says. You know why he didn't take the spot for free? Because he said, now my wife is dead. Now that she died, I don't want her death to go in vain. I want to turn her death into a Kiddush Hashem. How can I turn my wife's death into a Kiddush Hashem? To teach people the value of life. And to teach people that we believe that when a person dies, he actually first begins to live. Finally he's free. He can live. And that's why to us it's worth paying insane prices and going to great extents to bury somebody in a respectable way, not to, God forbid, cremate him or other crazy things that people do. So the Torah emphasizes how much effort Avraham Avinu put in, not because of the financial transaction. We don't care about that. Because through the financial transaction, there was a mission to teach us the value of life and the value of life after life. And that's exactly what this guy taught me today. We're fighting over a parking spot now. Not even a parking spot. Maybe a quarter of an inch. I saw it from the window. There was no. And I saw it from the bad angle. So technically the optical illusion worked in their favor then scientifically. And that's the Ma'aseh, the greatest lesson that we can take, a great lesson that we can take out of this parasha. It's going to be a day you ain't taking out with you. So it's not worth fighting over things right now. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy. You're ready, you're alive, so at least enjoy it. If I get you upset, if you get upset, do I suffer? No, I'm laughing. That was my goal. Who's suffering? You. So you're going to give in to my goal and ruin your life over it. Does that make sense to anybody in this room? Not to me. Now don't get upset. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.